What's up, guys? How y'all doing today? Well, baby, if you are Diddy, you are probably crying in your jail cell mat. Why? Because it looks like Charlemagne finally did a big one, and Wendy Williams is going to be released on conservatorship. But you guys, it goes a little bit deeper than that, because do you know that there is a full-blown investigation that has been unleashed on her guardian? And do you know that she's going to Lenox Hill Hospital in New York to be evaluated by an independent doctor to see not whether she has a cognitive decline, but to see whether if that cognitive decline is to the level that dictates that this woman has to be, Wendy just has to be like squirreled away and lose all agency. Now, here's the thing. They tried it, right? I don't know if you guys remember, but when the conservatorship was first happening, myself and a bunch of other people were ringing alarm because it was like, this doesn't make any sense. However, the one thing that everybody remembers is after that, we saw Wendy getting drunk, walking outside like a little bodega. We saw her making a fool of herself. We saw her doing all this stuff. And I remember saying, this is a setup. The conservatorship is using this as an excuse to make sure that Wendy can never see the light of day. Because as soon as they got her in the conservatorship, all of a sudden, all these sightings stopped. All these leaks stopped. All these things started. To me, it was a concerted hit piece. Don't forget, her conservator, Sabrina, and that whole agency has been under investigation, even being sued for doing the same things that Wendy is accusing them of doing. Well, I found it odd that after Charlemagne showed a lot of love, he did a good thing with what he did with Wendy, and Diddy is going to hate it because Wendy knows all of the tea and all the stories, and I can't wait for her to talk. I hope she just jumps on YouTube and does a podcast. I will be one of the biggest people to support. Also, shout out to Tasha K. I think Tasha K and the Winos actually gave Wendy, donate the money for Wendy to actually get her, her legal fund. Anyway, cut to when Charlemagne first broke and Wendy had the interview on The Breakfast Club. I do remember after that, they literally were like, oh my God, Wendy Williams was seen drunk. And I was like, let me get this straight. Wendy Williams, who is under conservatorship, who can't even use her phone. The conservator Sabrina took away her phone in retaliation, right? And literally tried to lock her again and take away her family visitation rights. How did Wendy get drunk? And then we found out that she's not in a rehab center. She's in a center for people with severe, advanced late stage cognitive decline and all this other stuff. And I said, well, then where'd she get the alcohol from? And if she's that bad, why don't you have her in rehab? Where'd she get the alcohol from? And they said that she went, and there is a restaurant at the live-in facility that when people come to visit, they can have a meal. And I said, but I'm confused. You are basically on lockdown. Everybody knows you're Wendy Williams. How are you able to stroll into a restaurant on site and get pissy drunk for them to document and tell on you? Why would the bartender keep serving you? And why would the bartender serve a patient without the doctor saying? It makes no sense. And that's when I said, oh my God, they're 100% playing dirty. Well, it looks like Wendy's legal fund is playing even dirtier, and I love to see it. They said Wendy Williams is at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City for an independent examination as to whether her cognitive functions are sufficiently intact to end her guardianship. Everyone that's talked to her from Charlemagne on down says that it 100% looks like her guardianship is going to be ended. Sources with direct knowledge tell TMZ, that's probably Wendy, how you doing, Harvey? A caregiver not associated with the guardianship, Gina Monterosa, ordered the trip and the test. This after the NYPD paid a visit to Wendy Monday morning to determine if, as Wendy says, she's effectively being held prisoner. The NYPD has asked about Wendy being confined to the memory unit of an assisted living facility where she cannot leave the floor without permission. She rarely gets out, but yet they let her wander and go get pissy drunk so they could have that story as to why they're justifying it. This is a shame. In addition to the NYPD, Adult Protective Services has launched its own investigation into the guardianship. They interviewed Wendy's niece, Alex Finney, on Monday. They didn't know. Everybody for the last decade, whether you love her or hate her, they got some type of feeling for Wendy, and thank God they look at her, right, as they should, as like a cultural lexicon, an icon. Anyway, they going down, and they're holding her hostage. TMZ broke the story. Actually, the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne the God broke the story, but okay, TMZ, that Wendy would like famed lawyer Joe Tacopino to take on her case. You think Joe Tacopino is going to take that case on? I don't know, because Joe Tacopino is like really, really deep in Rock Nation. As a matter of fact, he said that he wouldn't help Diddy because he's person non grata at Rock Nation. Is Wendy on good terms with Jay-Z? And I remember Wendy used to always say that Beyonce was stupid. And Beyonce is not stupid, but Wendy used to go in on her, so I don't know. They're saying that Tacopino is seriously considering it. If this happens and the judge doesn't end the guardianship, there will almost certainly be a jury trial where jurors will determine if Wendy was sufficient cognitive functions to end the guardianship. Listen, I do want to say this, right? Shout out to Charlemagne, TMZ, actually everybody, even Joe Tacopino, Rock Nation, if they're working with Wendy, for shining a light on this. Because as big as Wendy is and as much money as Wendy is, I think they already drained her bank account and robbed Wendy blind. But as big as Wendy is and as much money as Wendy is, the fact that they can do this to her, it's disgusting. But my heart aches also for the little people that don't have Wendy's power, that don't have a Charlemagne in their life, that don't have any of those big friends. How many people did this conservatorship do this so that the fact that when they got to Wendy, they were like, yeah, wash, rinse, repeat. We can do what we want. We don't need to do this. Lock her up, take away her phone, drain her bank account, refuse to let her family see her, keep her hidden. Did they think if they kept Wendy hidden all that time, they'd be like, well, let's just move on and forget about her? Again, how many times have they done this? Countless times that they have a finely oiled system where the judge is working with the conservatorship, which is working with draining people's accounts, and rinse and repeat over and over and over. I am so glad, not just the fact that it looks like Wendy's guardianship is going to be over and she's going to get a fair thing. I am so glad that the NYPD and social services are adult protective services is launching an investigation to truly see and find out what's happening, because there's a lot going on right now, and I'm glad that they're looking into it. Again, thank God. I do believe Sabrina, whatever, her reign of terror is open. I hope Wendy brings up criminal charges against them. If anything shows that there's any case that can stick, they literally drained her and gave her into how many, 2-3 years of hell. And you know who else we need to look into? And I'm not even done. Viacom. They need to look into, no, who was it? Not Viacom, but the production company that bought all this down because Wendy said she was going solo and refused to work with them. And from that, she rolled into a conservatorship. Oh, it's a Burnham Murray, I think. It's a cold world. But I hope Wendy comes back and makes everybody pay, because this truly was a conspiracy. And now that it's being exposed, baby, it's not over yet. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye. Bye-bye.